Good morning, everyone. My name is Maya Luria with TMC for Seniors, and this morning we're going to be talking about resolution solution. Let's making our health habits stick. I have Mary Mellady here with me. She is the TMC Director of Connected Health and Wellness. Welcome, Mary.
Good morning, Maya.
So, Mary, I know we talk a lot about resolutions at the end of the year or the beginning of our new year, and so I think you've come up with a way to help people make those changes with this presentation, and so I'm excited to be able to share that with everyone. Maybe reframe the way that they're thinking about those resolutions.
Absolutely. Yep. Hopefully I give you some good tips today to help with our coming year. So it's pretty typical that towards the end of the year, like you said, Maya, we start thinking about, oh gosh, I didn't do that or I didn't accomplish that goal in January. We always talk about like, what's our resolution going to be? And I forget what the statistic is, but I think it's like 75% or 85% of us that make resolutions don't actually ever finish them, or like after 2 months. It's pretty typical to go to the gym. I know you see this, that everybody's there in January, and then usually by maybe mid-February, everybody's gone again. So we would prefer to make some changes that stick with us and that we can make part of our lives rather than just make this kind of a quick start and end. So I hope this will help you. All right. So what is wrong with resolutions? Well, by nature, resolutions, kind of like diets, are designed to fail. They're too grand. How often do we hear people say something to the effect, this year I'm going to be debt free? All right. Well, in most cases, that's going to take a while. And it's not going to happen like that. And so people get frustrated. So we make these big, grandiose statements, and then we get frustrated when they don't happen instantaneously. Often resolutions or things around our health can be a little too vague. This year I'm going to get healthy. What does that even mean? Like, what does that mean? So that can be, are you going to adjust your weight? Are you going to eat healthier that's going to adjust your weight? Are you going to start to exercise? Are you going to go to the doctor? That can mean so many things. So that's really too vague. And there's a lot of pressure around resolutions, especially if you're at like a party or you're talking with a group of people and they say, so what's your resolution this year? It's a lot of pressure. And so, a lot of the times people say, oh, a new year, it's a new me. That's pressure. So that can set us up to fail. All right. So, and change is hard. Who likes change? Well, I love change, actually. So, but I realize that I am part of the minority. But we are actually hardwired in our brain to resist change. There's a part of our brain, the amygdala, that views change as a threat. It's almost like that fight or flight response, like, oh no, what's going to happen next? And we all get that, whether we do actually like change or whether we are completely averse to it. We all still get that. What's going to happen next? So we're not really set up to change easily. We like our routines. There's no fear in our comfort zone. We know what to expect day to day. I know that I'm going to get up and I'm going to go and do X, Y, and Z, and I don't have to worry about anything because that's what I'm used to. So if we change something, then wait a minute, that's not okay. And oftentimes we focus on the negative aspects of change. What are we giving up? Let's go back to that. I'm going to get healthy this year. And perhaps we do narrow that down a little bit and we say we're going to start to exercise. And we decide, okay, we know that the best recommendation is to exercise in the morning. So that means I need to get up a little bit earlier so I can get my exercise in. Wait a minute, I'm giving up sleeping in. Well, I don't want to do that. So we always focus on that negative before we focus on the, oh, well, if I get up a little bit earlier and I do this thing for me, I'm going to feel better the rest of the day. So we automatically go to the negative versus to the positive. We become overwhelmed by the large picture. We automatically go to the end goal and we forget to look like just what's happening tomorrow. I need to lose 100 pounds. Oh my gosh, that's huge. I can't do that. I just need to lose 5 or 3 or 1. So we often get really overwhelmed with that end point rather than looking back at each step. And sometimes we think we need to change based on external input. My spouse thinks I'm overweight. Okay. If you're okay with what's going on in your world and it's not unhealthy, then maybe you need to think of a different goal. So in order for change to be something that we really buy into and we can make it past all of these things that are kind of barriers for us, we need to really want that change. It can't be doing it for somebody else. We can't be doing it because we were told to. We really have to be bought into it and understand why. And let me frame that a little bit different. If there's a change that you really need to make around your health, let's say around losing weight, because that would really impact how well you control your blood sugar, or it would positively impact your cholesterol numbers, or whatever it might be. And you're not really bought into that, you need to think about it from a different perspective. Think about how would you be better off if you were to lose that weight. Maybe it's not just about the numbers for you, but are there other factors that you could connect so that it did kind of resonate a little more closely to you? The thing is, the things have to change inside of us in order for things to change for us. So again, we have to intrinsically want to make change and see value in that change before that change can ever happen and can ever actually stay with us long term. And the glue that's going to make change stick is within us. We have that power to make change happen and to make it stick. It's about our perspective, it's about our attitude, and it's about the why behind we're making change. Our why is that glue that makes all of these healthy habits that we sort of want to do or think we should do really stick and become part of our everyday lives. It becomes a way of living. So our why oftentimes starts with our story or our perspective or the things that we tell ourselves. So we're going to talk a little bit about our story. So what have you been telling yourself and others about your health? Have you been telling yourself that I just can't lose weight? I've tried. Can't do it. I've tried diet after diet after diet. It just doesn't work. I'm just not made to lose weight. Or, yep, I'm not an exerciser. I don't like to get up and exercise, and by the end of the day, I'm too busy. I just can't do it. I hate it. I don't like to get sweaty. I don't like anything about it. So is this what you've been telling yourself? Or have you been saying, well, I can't change the way I eat because I have a family that won't help me, or I have a significant other that sabotages me, or it's not my fault, it's hereditary. So all of these things, some may be very true and may be realities in your life, but they're automatically roadblocks that you're not even talking through or thinking through or even trying to adjust, alter, or move out of the way. So it's about what we tell ourselves in our head and possibly to others before we even start looking at change. That's really a key. So what's your story? And how do we adjust that? So are you a victim in your story? Don't become the victim of your story. When we deny the story, it defines us. When we own the story, we can write a brave new ending. And so that's from Brene Brown. If anybody has not heard of Brene Brown, I would highly recommend that you take a look at her because she is extremely motivational around making tough changes and looking at things from a new perspective that sometimes we don't always want to do. So are you the victim? Is this somebody else's fault that you can't make change? Think about that. Okay. You are the pilot of your airplane, and you are the captain of your ship. You have to own it. Okay. If you let somebody else, my daughter just told me last night, if you let somebody else drive your car, and your car being you, and you're just sitting in the back seat, you can't guarantee what's going to happen to your car. So own your car. Stop comparing your story to the ideal. Your story is unique, so it's so different and not worthy of comparison. If we compare ourselves to other people, what they look like or how they exercise or how they eat or what their health status is, it's not going to do us any good. We can definitely have role models and people that we look to as mentors and folks that we turn to for information to help us achieve a goal. But just comparing ourselves and letting it go at that and saying, oh, I'm never going to be like that, or geez, I can't do that, or I'm not like that person, that almost takes our own personal being and our stories and what's going on in our worlds and shrinks it and makes it not as worthy. And it is. We are all very different. So we need to stop comparing ourselves to an ideal. And we can each choose to write a new ending each day. So maybe today I didn't do so well with my exercise, but you know what? Tomorrow's a brand new day. I could still get up tomorrow and be active first thing in the morning and choose to have a healthy breakfast. And it doesn't matter what I did today. Tomorrow's a brand new day. So at any given moment, you have the power to say, this is not how my story is going to end. I am not going to end my story being unhealthy or not achieving a goal that I've set out for myself. It means that we have to be intentional every single day towards what goal we're focused on, towards how we want our story to end. And we own that within us. But we have to choose that. We have to decide that's what we're going to do. So how do we start to rewrite that story? How do we start to flip our perspective so that we can write that new ending, so we can stick to our healthy habits and can make some good goals and good changes that really are important to us? Well, first, we're going to stop ruminating. So the essence story is to stop ruminating. Stop focusing on the past. Stop focusing on what went wrong. Stop saying, yeah, I tried that. It didn't work. I've tried diets. I've tried exercise. I don't like it. Stop ruminating. And I say that so emphatically because I'm a ruminator. I ruminate. And I need to let it go because rumination does nothing more for you than steal your joy and steal your success at moving forward. Instead, change your perspective from gap to gain. So rather than focusing on what went wrong or what you lost out on or the negative of a goal or a situation, focus on what actually went right or what you gained. So a good example, 2020. Everybody says 2020 was terrible. Oh, the worst year ever. And granted, there was some negative things to 2020. COVID-19 never is going to be like pop-up is, and thank goodness we had that. But there are good things that happened in 2020. And I had to stop looking at 2020 in the gap and start to look at it in the gain. And I realized I had a really good year. I finished my master's. I got married. I got to do some really great hiking with all of my family. It was actually a good year if you change your perspective. It's all in your perspective. Stop looking at your perspective, looking down at the mud, and start to look up to the stars. Okay? Who's to say that tomorrow won't be the best day of your life? You have that to say. So stop ruminating. All right. So the action around this is thinking about, what are you ruminating about? What sits and, kind of just ticks around in your brain that's bringing you down? And think about, can you change it or control it? This is a big concept that we focus on around reducing anxiety and reducing stress. What is bothering you and what's ticking away in your head? If you can't change it or you can't control it, then you need to let it go and you need to change your perspective around it. If you can change or control it, then you need to decide what is one small thing that I can make, a change I can make that would help me to change or control this thing I'm ruminating about. So, what are you ruminating about? Can you change it? Then do something small. If you can't, then change your perspective and think about it in I have no control over this, but maybe this is what I'm getting out of it. I think about if we can't go out to restaurants anymore. Here's a good gap to gain. A lot of people complained about that in 2020 in my world. We can't go out to eat anymore. And we have to stay home all the time. Okay, well, you know what? How much money did we all save by not going out? Or how much time did we now get to spend with our families because we were all eating dinner together? So, different perspective. All right, the T in story is take ownership. You are the author of your story, so own it. The moment you accept responsibility for everything in your life is the moment you gain the power to change anything in your life. So take some inventory of what's important to you, who you are, what are your values, what you enjoy doing, what are your daily habits. Your daily habits actually define what your life is. So what are you doing every single day? Do you like them? Do you like what you're doing? And stop making excuses for the negative things you're telling yourself. Think about how you're talking to yourself. The action is, what is an excuse you've been making for your story? And is this current version of your story serving you well? So is your excuse that you don't have the right support system? Well, guess what? Senior Services, Maya and her team, there's your support right there. If you haven't reached out to them, they're amazing. You surely have many friends, and if you don't, there's Senior Services to reach out with. There's many community services that we can connect you to that can create that support network. What other excuses have you been making? Again, that old one that, I've tried, it doesn't work. Is that really serving you well? Maybe you need to look at it from a different perspective of, why didn't that diet work? Well, because it's a diet. Diets never work. We know that. And could you look at it from a different perspective? Well, I know that maybe there was actually some good things about it that I learned. I did learn that I like this, or I don't like to do these kinds of things. So, but think about, what are you telling yourself? Is that really doing you any good? Okay. You may be a super positive person and telling yourself a really good story right now, and I applaud you if that is true. All right, the O in story is observe your language. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. So the information we take in each day influences our thoughts and our feelings. And how we use words in our own brain and how we're talking about ourselves or how we're talking with others can impact the perspective that we have and the story that we tell ourselves. What's the information that we're taking in around us? We are now in a world where we have information coming at us all the time. You can get anything you want just by picking up your phone. I'll use my husband as a good example. He has news at the touch of his finger. He can tell me anything at any time. He's got all of this information, and sometimes it frustrates him, and he knows this. So is that information good? Probably, but too much? Maybe not. So what information are you taking in? Is it serving you well? Is it making you feel good? Is it giving you motivation to move forward, to live healthy habits? Or is it making you feel kind of and unmotivated? What are you telling yourself? Are you using positive words with yourself that you can make changes, that you do deserve to be healthier? Oddly, that seems like who would actually say that, but many people that I meet with for weight loss, that's a deep underlying thing, is thinking about, do I deserve to be healthy? So keep that in the back of your head. The actions here are, what are you choosing to pay attention to? Where's your focus? So one of my coworkers got a phrase, and we use it a lot around here now, is pay attention to what you're paying attention to. If you're always on your phone, you're probably missing a lot that's going on around you. If you are always choosing a negative version of your story, then that's what you're paying attention to. So where's your focus? Be intentional. Remember that word, intentionality. If you want to be effective at achieving your goals, we must be intentional. Goals don't happen. We just don't all of a sudden start to eat healthy, and we just don't all of a sudden start to go exercise every day. We have to be intentional about it. What words are you using to tell your story? That you can make these changes and it can be part of your life? Or are you saying, yeah, I can do this for like 10 days until I lose those 5 pounds so I can fit back into those jeans for this particular event? And then after that, I don't care. So what are you telling yourself? Are you being kind to yourself, or are you being critical? Many clients that I have that come in to see me, they are much nicer. And I think I could pretty much make this as a general statement, that we are generally kinder to our friends and those that are really close to us than we are to ourselves. So is that true? Are we taking better care of our friends and family than what we tell ourselves? So think about that. The R in story is to reframe our past. Rewriting your past experiences to see them as positive rather than negative changes your future story. Hardships do not prevent you from having a happy life unless you tell yourself they do. The secret to change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. I love that quote. That's one of my favorites. Because for so long, and this really resonates for me, I sat with this, I had this really terrible experience, and I would ruminate about it. And I would let that hold me in a place that didn't allow me to move forward and be happy, because I was so stuck in this ick. And I was just fighting with this. Why did this happen? I didn't enjoy this. This wasn't good. Rather than saying, okay, well, I learned a lesson. All right, wasn't good, but let's use that to move and move on to something better in the future. So thinking about this as well, you can't wait until your life is all happy and easy and perfect, or easy and perfect in order to decide you're going to be happy. It's your decision to be happy. And if that means that you're going to make these healthy habits and you want to make them part of your everyday life and not just a momentary resolution, then you need to be intentional. You need to decide that's where you're going to focus your energy. Rather than on the past, on what didn't work, we're going to focus forward on, I can do this, and this is how. Okay, so it's about that perspective again. And sometimes it's hard to look back at, things we failed at when it comes to our health, and decide, okay, I'm going to try again, because it feels like this broken wheel sometimes that we're just over and over. But if you come at it from the right perspective and you really reframe your thought process, then that can make a big difference. And so the actions around this are, what does it mean to your past story if there was an alternate cause for the experience? So by that, I mean, if you've always thought that, okay, well, I have poor health because, or I can't stick with this habit because I just can't exercise. Just can't do it. Don't like it. What happens if there was an alternate explanation for that? What happens if the explanation was that you just haven't yet found the right activity, or that you haven't had the right support system? Reframe one experience in your past from negative to positive, and then think about, how does that change your future story? So reframe. So this is all about perspective. And so this may not directly tie to a current or a new goal, but it starts to help you to learn how to flip your perspective, flip it, and really change that paradigm of always thinking, I can't, I'm going to fail, I've done it and it doesn't work, to now I'm in charge. I can do this. I'm going to take small steps, and I'm not going to get there tomorrow, but it's okay because this is going to be how I'm going to live for the next rest of my life. So think about changing something from your past so that it impacts positively into your future. And the why is your daily story. I think I mentioned daily habits before. So nobody can go back and start a new beginning, but anyone can start today and make a new ending. So you write your story each day, right? Every day we have new experiences. And at the end of every day, we can assess, okay, that was a good day. I didn't have a great day. This happened. I learned this, or this wasn't so good. If we start to learn from those perspectives, if we start to be more intentional about what we're doing every day, we can start to use those to reframe and to write our new ending the next day. Like I said, every day we're writing our story. And if you don't get every day little things, how can you get the big things right? So let's start with something really small. What you do today is what you tell yourself tomorrow. So I don't know if you've ever heard the, and I'm going to mess this up, so I apologize. He's a Navy admiral, and he talks about making your bed. It's a big video on YouTube. You probably just Google "make your bed every day" if you haven't seen it. And he gives a whole speech about the importance of making our bed every day, that's one of those tiny little things that if you don't get anything else right that day, at least you did that one thing, and you get to go home and, or, at the end of the day, and in a nice made bed. But it's the thought of doing these small things so that they build on one another, so that at the end of the day, you have something big. It goes along with taking small steps. We're not looking to lose 30 pounds by next week, but we're looking to lose 1 pound. And I'm not encouraging people to totally give up all of their negative eating habits. Let's just pick one and work on just one. You don't have to go run a marathon next week either. Guess what? Nope, you don't have to do that. But maybe you could walk 3 days next week. Or maybe you could even just find some shoes that are comfortable, put them on, walk around the house, make sure you're good. That's a small step, but you've accomplished something towards a goal that you want to achieve. Nothing is too small, and anything is better than nothing. So think about that. Nothing is too small to start getting started towards a goal, and anything is better than nothing. So, small things, every little thing counts. So your action is, what is something that you do every day that's not serving you well? So in addition to making goals that are going to get us towards a healthier life, and help us stick with our resolutions, we also have to think about what are things that we're doing that aren't really serving us well. And that can be anything. That can be from eating foods that don't make us feel very good because they're not healthy choices, being inactive, being on our phone too much, not sleeping enough, perhaps not spending enough time taking care of ourselves. So what are you doing currently that's not serving you well? And then think of one thing, something that you're currently doing that is serving you well. There has to be something, and it doesn't have to be every day, but what is something that you really derive joy and fulfillment from? And think about that, because that's something you want to build on. And then what is something you wish you did every day that would make you smile? So we talk a lot about joy as part of, and finding your why as part of how we can achieve and maintain our healthy habits. So if something makes you smile, we want to build that into our daily habits, because joy helps us to feel better. It increases our emotional well-being, and a higher emotional well-being, the more likely we are to stick with some of those harder things like being active or making healthy food decisions. Okay. So what isn't serving you well? What is? And we want to do more of that. And what is something you wish you did that would make you smile more? And it might be talking on the phone with somebody. It might be doing more volunteer work. So it can be anything. It's your story. Okay, so strategies for change. Change is all about you. So make it your thing when you're ready. So it doesn't have to automatically start in January. It's got to be when you're ready, because otherwise it's just going to be another one of those things that you say you want to do, but you're really not ready for. And if it's not your thing, you may say you want to do it and then not really stick to it. So make sure it resonates deeply with you, because change is hard. You're going to come across barriers. You're going to come to points where you think that, I just can't do this today, and that's okay, but you need to be able to get back to it. So it has to be very important to you and something that you want to do. Don't focus on the past, and don't focus too far in the future. Stay right here today. What am I doing today? Those small little things, write your story for today that then impact tomorrow. So stay here today on what you need to do to be intentional towards your healthy habit. And once you do that, and I can almost feel everybody going, oh, but that's really hard to be intentional every single day. I don't want to have to think about my diet or my exercise or my blood pressure. I don't want to think about that every day. The good news is you think about it every day and you're intentional towards it. And then after about 30 days, there's a 30-day challenge, things become a little bit more routine. And so you have to be less intentional about certain things. And that's when you can add something else in. Okay. The 30-day challenge, do something different consistently for 30 days. Maybe it is just getting up, making your bed, putting your shoes on and eating breakfast or drinking your coffee with your exercise shoes on. Maybe that's all you need to do, because there's the thing that it's common. If we can attach a new habit to an old habit, then that makes it easier to be more consistent with. So if you're used to always getting up and drinking coffee before you do anything else, get up, put your shoes on, and drink your coffee. And then pretty soon, maybe it'll be easier to get up, put your shoes on, go for a walk, then drink your coffee. So if you attach a new habit to something you're currently doing, that makes it a lot easier to maintain long term. Deconstruct a habit to change it. So many times I talk to people, almost always now, about nutrition, and they can tell me what it is that they're doing well that they should do more of, and they can tell me what they're doing that's not so good that they should stop doing. So we all have things, habits, health habits that we do that we know we shouldn't be doing. But we should get curious about what drives that behavior, and whether or not the reward is truly serving us. So an example might be the 3 o'clock snacking hour. Are you snacking at 3 and you really shouldn't, but you do anyway? And what are you really getting out of that? So why are you snacking? Is it because you are kind of lacking some energy? Is it because you're seeking out to do something different? You're looking to be, if you're home, and you're looking to be in a different part of the house, so you head to the kitchen. Are you seeking somebody to talk to because maybe you've been working in a home office, or that's where somebody else might be? Is that what the snacking is about? Do you need just a change of scenery? So think about why you're doing something, and is it really why you're really doing it, and is that really serving you well? So rather than snacking, maybe you just need to go to a different place, which might be just outside, or something of that nature. You might just need to change your environment. Small steps. We already mentioned small steps. Nothing or anything is better than nothing, and any step is better than nothing as well. So it can be as small as you need it to be to make it successful. So rather than thinking about changing your whole diet, let's think about changing one thing. Let's think about, maybe if you're a soda drinker, you don't have to get rid of all the soda, maybe, but you just drink one a day if you're used to drinking 3, or maybe you just drink it on the weekend. If you don't eat enough fruits and vegetables, then let's try to get one vegetable more in there at lunch or dinner. So just really small. And finally, be kind to yourself and tell yourself it's okay to be imperfect. Many times we we have resolutions and we start healthy habits, and then there's a day that life happens and we can't do what we had intended to do, even though we're so intentional about it, but just something comes up. And then we feel really bad and we're really unkind to ourselves. And then that sets a whole chain of events where then you don't do it the next day. And then you're even worse off. And so you don't do it the third day. And then it's just like, well, forget it. I'm not trying anymore. But if you're kind to yourself and you realize, okay, tomorrow's a new day, I can write a new ending to my story. And it's okay that I couldn't do it today, then that makes tomorrow easier to get back to what you had intended to do. So here's my last two. I take a lot of pictures on bridges, apparently. Create every day. So meaning create your story, write your story, make your resolutions stick because you're the glue. And remember to live a great story. So thank you.
So thanks so much, Mary. That was great to be able to see. I love the idea of creating your story, and also just some of the things you said about just making small changes, because those can also lead to other things down the road, and breaks it down to make it more manageable for somebody to, start, especially if you feel like you've got a huge hill to climb. So, just starting with putting on your shoes in the morning before you go, before you start walking, could be, and attaching that to a habit that you already have, is a great tip to help people make it more manageable.
And sometimes the change you need to make isn't always what you think it needs to be. So meaning, if you want to eat healthier, maybe your first change isn't around your food, but maybe it's around your sleep. Maybe it's around your stress management, because a lot of these, they all kind of interconnect and impact one another. So, so we have to really think about consciously, what do I really need to change first?
That's great. So we'll share your presentation with everyone when we broadcast this. If you have questions that come up, please feel free to leave them in the comment section on your Facebook or YouTube page as well. And we'll be watching those so that we can try to answer any questions that come in afterwards. And thank you so much for being here, Mary, and sharing a resolution solution for us.